Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon FBA for business for sale in the gaming niche. Created in June 2014, this business makes $9,001 per month in net profit on average, and the listing number for this site is 40568. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Kevin.
Thank you.
So just to give you a little background, your business is obviously doing very well. Can you give us a little bit of background on what is your history or your resume when it comes to building and running these kind of online businesses? Have you done this before, or is it like a brand new thing for you? Give us a little bit of a lowdown on your background.
Sure. I had worked at a business that ran Amazon businesses before for about 2 years. And during there, I had contact with a lot of vendors, a lot of Amazon business owners. I just had a lot of contacts in general that kind of got me introduced to this style of business. And I left to go to a different position, but I kind of retained all the skills that I had from that business. And I thought, why don't I just try this for me, just see how it works. And about 2 years ago, I did that, and here we are today. As far as other online businesses that I've gotten into since then, I've gotten into many more online businesses, but when I first started, that was pretty much my first go at it.
So you actually worked for like another Amazon FBA business, as like you were an employee of an Amazon FBA business. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's interesting. That's not a route you hear very often. That's pretty cool. So when you decided to jump all in as an entrepreneur yourself and, get into the game, how did you come up with the idea, specifically this niche? I know you're in the gaming niche. How did you come up with that idea? What was it about this?
Well, it was two things. So when I first was deciding on my niche, I was researching a lot. I was going all over Amazon in general, and just general niches that I liked, that I maybe didn't like, but had good opportunity. And I kept searching for a decent bit. I wanted to make sure I picked the right niche. I wanted to be successful on my first go, and I knew how to do the research from working at the previous business. So after a while, I kind of, to be honest, I kind of stumbled upon it. I stumbled upon a great product opportunity, and then in addition to that, it happens to be something that I enjoy myself. I enjoy playing video games. I enjoy all the different consoles. I enjoy PC. I wouldn't say I'm an avid gamer, but I definitely game, every other day or so. And so I happened to find a really awesome opportunity product-wise, and I thought, well, this makes a lot of sense. It's something I enjoy, and it's a good opportunity, and so I jumped in.
That sounds awesome. I'm actually a gamer myself. I'm a big fan of Mass Effect, if you've ever played.
I have played the first one, but I haven't made it to the second two yet.
The first one's good, but the other two are so much better. So, Kevin, tell me, for someone that's just coming to this niche, or not even just this niche, but this business model, someone that's not familiar at all with Amazon FBA, could you just describe very briefly how this business makes money? Like, what is it that you are doing that actually brings in the profit?
Sure. So what I do is I look for good product opportunities. So that could be something original. It could be something that's maybe underserved that people are looking for, but not necessarily the most original. Or it could be something that just needs, a new coat of paint, so to speak. And so after I find a product that I like, I search usually via China, and I find a factory. I have one that I use specifically for all my products, but if I wanted to, I could use other factories, which I've done. And I find a factory that makes this product, or that is willing to make a product if it's original product of mine, and then I have them make a bunch of them. I send them to Amazon, and then Amazon fulfills it, which means they handle all the shipping, they even bring in the sales. They pretty much do everything as far as that is concerned. So once the product hits Amazon, it's just waiting for consumers to buy it, and there's a few things you can do to help that along, but that's pretty much it. The main aspect is finding products that people want.
Yeah, so people come to your Amazon listing, just like any other Amazon listing. They click the buy now button if they're interested in your product. And when they click that, you earn a profit. It's a fairly simple business for sure, and really an awesome business. You get to leverage Amazon. But, this business is like It sounds so successful. You're doing about 9 grand a month. Why are you selling the business? Is there a reason why you want to exit out of this business?
There actually is. There's a few reasons, but the biggest reason I wanted to exit is that I now, in reference to the previous question of going into online businesses, I now have another business that I'm really working hard on, a subscriptions box style business that I purchased with the profits from this business about 6 months ago or so. And I've been really putting in. It takes a lot more time to run that business. The Amazon FBA business is very passive for the most part. You can be as active as you want to be, but for this subscription box style business, it's much more active. And so I've been having to dedicate a larger amount of time than I expected to this business. And so it's made me kind of neglect the Amazon FBA business a little bit versus what I'd like to do with it. In addition to that, I have another business that I'm starting to launch. This one I'm not buying, but I'm starting myself. So pretty much I'm just spreading myself too thin. And as much as I enjoyed this Amazon FBA business and the niche, I just kind of want something new and maybe more challenging to kind of, I don't know, spark my interest.
I hear you. So you're spending a little bit too much time on too many different things, and so you're selling this business. When it sells, do you have any plan for the capital that you're going to get? Are you going to put that money into the subscription business you're working on, or this other new business that you're starting, or do you have any plans at all for the big payday?
I do actually, yeah. So the subscription box business, although it's coming along decently well, it does require a little bit of capital to give it a jump start a little more, but mainly that'll be going to the third business I mentioned, the new business that I'm starting, because that one, being a new business, requires so much time and capital to really get going. So that'll be where the majority of it goes. So I'd say it'll split between the businesses, but the majority of it will go into the new business, and maybe I'll keep a little extra.
Nice. Always keep a little extra. You could buy Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 with that payday.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So moving into site history, when you first started this business, what was the trajectory of the business for the first few weeks and months? Was it instantly profitable, or did it take some time to gain some steam?
I would say it's probably somewhere in the middle ground. So pretty much not the entire time I've been running it, for a long time that I've been running it, I've been taking all of the money that it would make and I would put it straight back into the business. I didn't really use this as a way to pay for my living. I actually had a job that I would do that with. And so I took all the money that this would make and I just keep funneling it back into different products and different ways of expanding. And so when I first started, though, I did pick a very good product, and that's what I was mentioning earlier. I happened to find an opportunity that I thought was very good. So I did have a very good start, but I wouldn't say it was like, I hit the holy grail or anything. It definitely took, a good year of building before I hit like any sort of really solid numbers.
That's good to hear. So many people, they have their, they think Amazon FBA is a magical pill or magical solution to make money online. But Amazon FBA is like any other business. It takes work, dedication, skill. And obviously you've shown that you can do it. I mean, your business is very healthy right now. Is there anything you learned from this business that you will apply to your future sites or other businesses that you're getting into? Something that just really worked for you?
I learned something that was more of like, I wouldn't say it was a good lesson to learn. So I learned to be extremely flexible and extremely fast, and I'll explain what that means. So Amazon FBA business, in my opinion, it really depends on your niche, but a lot of it has to do with capitalizing on the market when it's there. So things can fluctuate slightly depending on interests, or new products come out all the time. And so if you're the first to market with a new product or a new idea, you have a massive advantage. And so doing that is really important. And so there were times where I did that very well, and there were times where I was, I'll say, a little more lazy, and I didn't do that as well. And I could see like the impact it had on the business. And so what I learned overall is to just be super flexible and to be extremely, do your research, but be quick in your decision making and stick to it and kind of follow through. So that way, like I said, in reference to customers wanting certain products, they don't want it 5 months from now. They want it now. So you got to, be there to give it to them.
That's a very valid point. Is there anything that you did with this business that just simply didn't work? Something that maybe fell on the flat on its face, like some kind of marketing experiment or something else that you learned that just wouldn't work for this business?
I did. So I'd say I had a few of those. So one of those would be actually maybe possibly two of those were products that I launched. So Being an Amazon FBA business, especially the way that I have designed it, it works well with certain types of products. There are certain products that just inherently work well based on, there's a bunch of factors: size, price, there's many things, obviously need. And so there was one or two products that I had considered, or that I did sell, that didn't, I wouldn't say they were failures because they still sold, but they didn't really change anything. They didn't change my bottom line dramatically like a new product launch should. And they kind of just ho-hummed along their lifespan. And I eventually, at least for one of them, I actually stopped selling it. Even though it technically made money, it just, the amount of time it takes to, each product adds more time that you need to put in. And this product wasn't bringing in enough for my requirements, I guess. So that would be something that I'd say that didn't really work. Is when you're choosing your products, you have to do your due diligence. And there's good times to take risks, and sometimes those risks don't work out. And I had one or two of those, but I moved on from it and was able to learn from it.
That's an interesting thing. Do your due diligence when launching a product is obviously good advice. When you are doing your due diligence, is there anything like specifically you're looking for? Do you have any kind of requirements for what you want in a new product that you want to put in the time and effort for?
Absolutely. That's arguably, in my opinion, maybe the most important part of the business is choosing your next product. Obviously, all the products that are being sold work well. Hence, that's why the business does well. But when choosing new products, obviously, so when you're looking in your niche, you're already constrained by your niche. So that's the first constraint. The second constraint, I would say, or the next few constraints are, for me, it's price point. And that goes both ways in what the consumer is willing to pay and what you can get from vendors. And then there's size. Size is really important. Although I have expanded into larger items, now that the business is more successful, it allows you to take more expenses. So I have been able to move into larger items, but originally I didn't actually ship any items by sea. I shipped them all by air. And so being a more profitable and stable business, I've been able to move into niches that new Amazon FBA sellers haven't been able to. So I've been able to move into much larger products, which is good. But I'd say that price point and size, and then the complexity of the item is really important. The more complex an item is, the more problems you're going to have with it. That's not to say it's not a good product, but you just want to do your due diligence with your factories. And with every little bit, you should look on Amazon and see how people are already reacting to similar products. There's a lot of things that you slowly go through, and then you kind of end up with this finished product that ends up being, like I said, doing your due diligence ends up being more successful if you go through each step and just kind of make sure it checks the boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. When it comes to traffic and earnings with your FBA business, could you break down a little bit of where your traffic is actually coming from, your buyer traffic? Is that mainly just coming from, that built-in Amazon ecosystem, or are you having some SEO luck? Are you doing some paid traffic? Where is the traffic all coming from?
So actually 100% pretty much of the traffic comes from Amazon's internal search engine. That's when I talk about the work that I think needs to be done that haven't had the time to as of recently comes into play. There's ways to design your listing and to keep your reviews healthy and to have your product images and copy and other things to make you rank very well in that search engine, and that will bring you a certain amount of sales. If it's a very popular product, it can bring you a lot of sales. If it's a so-so product, it'll bring you sales. But I actually haven't really worked at all on any other aspect of the business, which is all just places where a new owner could grow it, from doing social media campaigns, which also the more sales you bring in. So if you did a social media campaign that was successful, it would help your internal Amazon search. It all goes hand in hand. So, but I haven't really done any sort of outside work on it, any SEO work. I haven't done any social media campaigns. I haven't even really done very many paid traffic, whether that would be like something like AdWords. I have done some Amazon paid traffic, although that's inherent in their search engines and it's very intuitive. But I haven't even leveraged that as of recently. So there's a lot of places. There's also the domain of the brand that could be leveraged. I don't sell any units from that domain. I stick exclusively to Amazon, but you could easily branch out into leveraging that brand as a domain or into other stores that sell this niche. You could reach out to them and try to get it sold. There's a lot of places that I really haven't expanded into to grow the business, but to answer your question in a more short terms, I get almost all my traffic from Amazon's internal search engine.
It's very cool. So yeah, I mean, Amazon has such an amazing, like a monstrous amount of inherent traffic just by being on Amazon itself. And if you can game the algorithm, for sure, you're going to get a ton of traffic. So you mentioned before that you do due diligence on several products within this Amazon FBA business. Is this just one product that's earning everything, or do you have several products within this business?
I do have several products. I started off with one, and then I went to 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. I believe now I'm right around 6 or 7 products total that I sell on the Amazon FBA through the business on their site.
And how stable are the earnings? Do they fluctuate quite drastically month to month, or are they pretty stable?
They are pretty stable. If there are any trends, they are much slower trends. So for the most part, there isn't any massive jumps. If the sales go down, they go down slowly. And so you can see that and adjust your listings. You can try to do work with review programs or to, see why, just in general, there's a lot of ways to diagnose why the sales can be going down. But as far as like the yearly cycle, there is a massive fluctuation. So being that it's in the gaming niche, holidays, like anywhere from end of October to the end of, it continues until like the end of January, you get a ton of orders. You get, I don't even know what percentage of your sales for the year, but you get a ton of them through that. So if through the rest of the year, it's pretty stable, although there's a slight uptick maybe in summer because of maybe some blockbuster games come out. But it's mainly pretty steady with any fluctuation coming slowly over time. And you can see if, for instance, fluctuating up or down, you can see those very distinctly. But as far as, like I said, the yearly cycle, it's all about leveraging the holiday sales.
For sure. That makes total sense. With any kind of retail business, holiday sales are going to be a huge opportunity, right?
Definitely.
So speaking of opportunities, let's say that you decided to keep this business, you're not going to sell it, and you wanted the least risky path to grow this business. What would you focus on?
So if I were to keep it and to continue to grow it, there's 2 steps I would take to make it as general as possible. The first step would be to continue to put in the time in the listings that already exist. So continue to polish them, whether that be with better pictures, more pictures, better copy, changing the products as you see feedback. That's one great thing about Amazon is everyone reviews your products and you can see all of them and everyone can see all of them. So you can learn from your reviews. If you see something that is fixable, well, you should fix it. That goes back to being flexible. If you're flexible and are willing to change your product to appease more customers, you're going to get more sales. So I would continue to work on the products that I have in both making them better and the listings better, and especially working with, there are a lot of review programs out there that you can work with to help boost numbers and just to get general feedback. When you release a new product and you want to know, hey, is this, you've done your due diligence, but the only way to tell if it's a great product is to see what people say. And so by doing a review program, it allows people to put what they honestly think on your listing and allows you to learn from it. So I would continue to do that and continue to improve those. That would be arguably the most important thing. But then the biggest growth can happen from releasing new products. There are multiple products that I have already done some research into launching that I haven't jumped on. So there are multiple products. The niche goes on and on and on. You could even go into other niches if you'd like, similar niches, but there are many specific ones that I've looked into that some are more popular than the products I released now or have released now. And so you could easily jump into those with a big splash. And as long as you did your due diligence on the products, it would grow it immensely.
Awesome. So that's the least risky path. What would you do if you were incredibly risky and just threw caution to the wind? What would you do to grow this business as quickly as possible?
I would say it would be an extremely similar step to what I was talking about before. So the biggest growth way to grow the business is just to release more products. If you wanted to be the most risky with it, would be just to release pretty much every gaming niche product that is out there. So the brand is already built into the, it's already big. It already can garner sales. People who see your product will see other products you sell. So you already can leverage that. And so if you wanted to, you could essentially just release any product that does sell under the gaming niche, and you would probably rank for it pretty well just by being a big brand. And so that would allow you to gain sales. Now, the problem with that is not every product that's out there that you can sell, you should sell. But that it's definitely a way of growing quickly. It's just a matter of sustainability. I personally like to do the due diligence because it ends up being more sustainable.
Right. So in terms of risks, what do you think is the biggest risk for this site that a buyer should be aware of, or for this business rather?
I would say I'll try to do 2 risks so I can encompass everything. The first risk is competition. There are other FBA sellers out there. Now, there aren't a lot of big time sellers, and especially in the gaming niche, there aren't a lot of big time sellers, but there are a few, and there are a lot of small time sellers. And so there's always competition. So while this business is very passive, if you were to neglect it, sales would decrease for sure. The more you neglect it, the more sales decrease. That's not to say that you have to put in a ton of time, because it's almost not possible to do that because it is so passive. But there are things that need to be done. And if you didn't do those things, then other people could help to bolster their search ranking, and eventually they could overtake you. The other thing that I would say is a risk is, I'm going to say I encompassed both in that answer because I can't think of what the other one was.
No worries. That was a great answer. Speaking of the work required, you mentioned it's a pretty passive business. Can you describe the amount and type of work you're doing in this business for maintenance? Like, are you doing certain things to boost your algorithm? Are you pushing out new products on a certain kind of schedule? What kind of work schedule are you working with here?
Sure. So as I mentioned, it is a very passive business. It can be pretty much as passive as you want it to be, but it's obviously very suggested that you do put some time into it. So as far as what I do personally now, I do almost no work on it for the past few months. As I mentioned, my time to work on it has become a lot less frequent. So I don't do very much. I do I probably do like an hour a week, maybe right now on it, maybe 2 hours. But realistically, what an owner should do would be more along the lines of maybe 20 hours a week. And those tasks would involve, so there's just general listing maintenance. So that goes from, constantly updating your copy to include the things that'll make it sell the most. And that's just through research. There's constantly updating your reviews. So that's things like responding to bad reviews and, understanding why that bad review got there so you can avoid it, and trying to make that customer happy again. Then there's things like updating your pictures constantly to have the best and newest looking picture. Sometimes, not very often, but the people will change the way pictures are taken. Sometimes they'll include certain things, sometimes certain angles. And so you kind of want to be on top of those trends as well. And then so I mentioned reviews of the bad reviews, but there's also good reviews. So you want to be doing review programs and just generally trying to get positive feedback on your listings, because a lot of customers will have a positive experience, but they won't leave a positive review because they just don't think to leave a review. So you want to try to, there's certain ways you can try to elicit positive reviews. And then so that's one side of the business. And that's, something you can do, but it's not like every day you need to sit down and stare at your listing for 5 hours, because there's only so much you can do. If a new review comes in, you can look at it, but a lot of times there won't be things to do for those tasks. And then the other side of it is sourcing and finding new products. And so that's as simple as, going on to Amazon and finding a product that you think you can leverage well, and then finding that product via your factory, like I said, I have a factory that does everything for me. They'll source new products. They'll do products they sell. They do a lot for me, and I've been with them since the beginning. They actually did my first product. So
it's a pretty strong relationship then.
Yeah. Over 2 years, I actually even got like seller of the year from them once.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was this last year, and it wasn't for necessarily doing the most in sales, but I had the most frequent orders of any of their purchasers. So that was pretty cool. They sent me a little gift. It was nice. But so to continue on things you can do, you can just source new products, and then you can find, price points that you like. You can negotiate with the factory, try to get it where you want, design the packaging for it, which I outsource just via, any freelancer website. And then I, give them the packaging, and then they send the products. You got to test it out. So have them send you a sample, test it out. Once you like it, everything's good to go. You just have them send it to Amazon, and there you go. So as far as like sourcing a product, I'd probably say you can't source a product every day because you can't release a product every day. I mean, you could try, but you'd be very ambitious. So these things are things that take over. Yeah, these are things that take over time. So while there's probably like a good maybe 10 to 15 tasks you can do, they all have to be spread out over time. So overall, there's, like I said, only probably max you can probably only put in 20, 25 hours before there's just not any other things to do.
So what kind of skills or requirements would you say that someone not familiar with this niche should have?
The only thing that I would say is required is two things, I'll say. So the ability to learn, obviously, and that may sound generic, but there's definitely, if you haven't done this business before, there are some things that you'll need to catch on to. Obviously, I will be more than willing to share any and everything that I have learned, but there are a few simple but good steps that you want to take. And then the other thing would be good communication. And so that goes from communicating with your vendor to communicating with Amazon if necessary to communicating with your customers. So you will get the occasional customer inquiry. I probably get maybe 1 to 2 a week. And so you just want to be very cordial. And same thing like I mentioned before, if you were to respond to a negative review to try to see what happened, you want to be as nice and good customer service skills, just good communication in general. You want to come off well, and so you want to try to make them happy. So I would say those are probably the only two things. You want to be a little flexible. You don't want to have a completely and 100% predetermined path of what you think you're going to do, because it's a much more flexible business than that. And then the other thing would be just communicating well and having good customer service skills.
Great advice. So would you be willing to sign a non-compete on this business? So someone comes in and buys this business and you agree like, hey, look, I'm not just going to go start another Amazon FBA business in the exact same niche next week. Would you be willing to do something like that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you already mentioned that you'd be willing to train people on everything you know. How much support are you looking to offer your potential buyers?
So the first and most important thing, and this may sound generic or people may think like, oh, that's nice, but this is actually, I think, the most important thing is I plan on writing essentially like a guide on how to grow the business, both the products that already exist, how to get them to sell as well as they did last year or better. And then also, here are the new products that I already sourced. Here, I can even give any numbers I have. Here are where I think it can go. Here are some, like every detail I have of those. And so obviously, any tasks that require growing the business, I plan on writing out extensively in sort of like a guide. Now, the guide will have multiple paths, so I'm not writing how to run the business. I'm just giving ideas that the person can take as far as, how to grow it and how to continue to grow it and how to ensure that what they buy as far as, past earnings stays in that direction or better. And I plan on taking a lot of time and effort and care in writing that. And so I think that's really important for someone who's not run a business like this and is maybe unsure as to whether or not they'll be able to just because they don't know it. I plan on putting many, many aspects of the business as well as how to grow it in there in as much detail as possible. But past that, I plan on offering, I'm open to phone support or Skype calls and definitely email. I would assume like a 30-day email is pretty standard. So something along those lines, maybe 60-day and, a week or two worth of Skype calls to get them on board.
Perfect. Now, obviously, the best case scenario for you, Empire Flippers, and everyone involved is for you to earn, or for someone to come in and buy the business for the exact price that we have listed at. But would you be open to something like a split or an earn out, say like 70% up front, 30% on closing, or maybe like 60% up front, and then a 40% earn out over the next 4 months based on like hitting certain goals, something along those lines? Would you be at all open to something like that?
Yeah, I'd be open to it. I do have plans for a lot of the capital. So, I would definitely prefer a decent bit up front. But, past that, I'm definitely interested. I could do at close or even, a small earnout is on the table too.
Awesome. Now, I'm about to put you in the hot seat here, but before I ask you the $1 million question here, Kevin, let me wrap up by giving a quick summary on the business for those listening in. This business was built in June 2014 as an average monthly revenue of $29,597 with average monthly expenses of $20,595. leaving a nice chunk of change for an average net profit of $9,001 on average. So my next question is, in the next 30 seconds, I want you to give me your best pitch, Kevin. Why should someone purchase this business?
Wow, that's a big question.
It's the $1 million question. Of course, it's a big one.
I would say that this business is, for the money it generates, it's extremely passive. It's also something that nearly anyone can run. It doesn't require coding skills. It doesn't require, anything super out of the ordinary. It just requires someone willing to, put in a little bit of time, and more than that, put in a little bit of effort and thought into sourcing and customer service and things like that. So it's really available to a lot of people. Beyond that, I think it has a ton of growth potential. There are so many avenues that I haven't even started to go down just because I was so successful in the first avenue. So there's a lot of ways to grow, not just in ways, channels and marketing, but in products too. There are a ton of products out there in this niche that can be released, and there's just an enormous amount of growth that this business can go into.
That's a great answer. I think you answered the $1 million question very well, Kevin. For our listeners out there watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want more information, go ahead and click the link below the video and you'll be taken to our marketplace listing with this listing on it. Now, if you're actually on our marketplace and you're checking out this video on the actual listing page and you're wanting more information, you can become a depositor today. All you have to do is click make a deposit and we will send the information on over to you. So, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on this. It was a pleasure, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Ray.